Welcome everyone to the weekly offload. So we have an amazing guest, Dylan Walker. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good mate. Thanks for having me on.
I was just about to introduce you, mate, because you actually are a Dally M Center of the Year as well. So I was about to say that a Premiership winner. You played for New South Wales, Australia. So you've done quite a lot in your career, mate. Are you pretty satisfied with your career so far?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a term probably you don't really reflect on your career as much when you get to a certain age. You take it day by day, but when you hear things like that, man, it's yeah, you obviously when you look back, you can be pretty proud. So blessed, grateful for the opportunities, but yeah, I'm gonna keep chasing the highs.
Yeah, you've done well, mate. You've done well. So if we could start sort of at the start of your NRL career, mate. So you played under 20s for New South Wales in 2013, but then you also debuted that same year. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I think I debuted round nine
Yeah.
in 2013 against the West Tigers, and yeah, that's a surreal moment, man. That was cool. Telling
Yeah.
family, friends. Yeah, that was obviously a very special year for myself.
Yeah, I heard you say on another podcast actually that it was a quite an easy win and that you thought this how NRL is going to be, but it didn't sort of turn out like that, did it, mate? You've had the highs and lows.
Yeah, I think I've had my fair share of the lows in rugby league. The roller coasters, it's a real thing, and you just got to take it on the chin whenever you can, and you get what you're given in this game. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then also, mate, so you actually working at a gym when you were called up, like to play footy?
Yeah, yeah. I was working at what was I? Camperdown Fitness on Parramatta Road there. Yeah, I think that was one of the requirements being an under 20s contracted player that you had to either work or study. And my head wasn't pretty good. I wasn't really good at school. So,
That makes two of us, mate, so don't worry. But at least you became an NRL player, so you had
I
something to fall back on.
only had one option, mate.
And then how did you find it, mate? So when you played first grade, as we said, it's kind of an easy win for you to start off with. So would you say that actually was a bit of a blessing and a curse?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's pretty awesome when you have a good win like that. Scoring on your debut. I think I was playing with a pretty good team too. GI ended up scoring 4 tries that night, and Um, yeah, it got brought down straight back down to earth. The following week, we played the Sharks in Cronulla, and yeah,
Mm.
we got beat 14-12. And I think they were pretty low on the ladder at that time. And I remember John Sutton coming to me after the game in my first one. Don't worry about this one, mate. This is not what first about. So I learned pretty quick the following week, but yeah, just super grateful, man. Like the experiences I had in those first few, in my first year, first grade.
Yeah, and you touched on that team that you played with, mates. Obviously, like you said, GI, you had Sam Burgess, like amazing side. Can I ask you? I have heard this story, but can you tell us the story of when you realized that you boys were going to win the premiership?
Oh yeah, I think I was probably real naive when I was young. I was just following the boys' lead. Um, but in 2014, there was just a sense of internal arrogance that we knew that we weren't be beat, and our probably hardest opposition was the Sydney Roosters that year. They come off winning the premiership in 2013, and they had a stacked side as well. And I think when we come up against them in the major semis, we knew that was like the grand final.
Mm.
Still staying present when we won the GF, but um, yeah, I just felt like when we went into that final series, it was no one was going to beat us. And
Yeah, because that Roosters side, mate, they won the year before as well. So they had a pretty amazing side themselves. So would you say like after you won that game, not to disrespect the Bulldogs, but did you feel like you've sort of had it then?
yeah, I think yeah, it's not disrespecting, but we knew they were the hardest challenge for us, and I think that was a mental block for the team as well, because the previous 2 years they got to that same spot and couldn't quite get to the GF, and it was just one of those games where that was the GF the week before, and when we come into the grand final week, we knew that it was just going to be complete clarity of we're going to win this, and it was just a special week to be a part of, and just a special season as well.
And then playing under Madge, obviously, mate, he's quite topical at the moment, being the New South Wales coach. So, what do you think he brings to a team?
No, he brings his culture. It was really good for me when I was younger because he doesn't have favourites. He's all about hard work, discipline, sacrifice as well. His big thing was sacrifice and staying in the present. And I think you can even see what he's done with the New Zealand side the last few years, and how he really brought that in, how he brought those boys all together. And, I think as a New South Welshman, you want to see your best team out there, but knowing Madge, he picks on effort, and, in that team, all those guys, week to week, week in, week out, they're just putting 100% effort. And I think with Origin, it's all about those plays, and you're playing with the best players, so you get to, you don't really need game-breaking plays. You just need effort, and if you got one or two of those guys that can sort of steer the game around and win you the game, then you can. So, I'll be supporting the Blues. Hopefully, my big mate Mitch Barnett gets a run.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the side in particular, mate, because obviously it's just been named. But yeah, Mitch Barnett, like getting picked. I mean, it'd be no surprise to you that he was picked playing alongside him.
Yeah, man, he's deserved it. He's a hardworking player. He's just all heart. He's just a real leader, just amongst the group. And when he speaks, everyone listens, and he's quite staunch on his values of who he is, not just as a footy player, but outside of football as well. He's a staunch man. So it's cool to play alongside him. And the last few weeks that we've had as a club, he's just steering the way.
And then were you surprised, like with everything that you've said about Madge, mate, were you surprised that Dylan Edwards would get picked, or do you think he is a style of player that Madge would love?
Yeah, I think you can't really go too wrong with him or Teddy. I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I personally probably would have had Tedesco there. Dylan Edwards, he's deserved it. He's won 3 comps in a row. He just, week in, week out, he's running up to 250, 300 metres a game, and he's just all pure effort. And I don't think he's just not that type of player that's going to let you down in that arena. So I think that's what he might have been looking for. But, hopefully he plays really well and get the win.
Yeah, and then yourself, mate. So you played the 2 games for New South Wales. So was that a massive difference? I guess playing Origin to NRL, like, did you find it was a massive step up?
Yeah, I think the emotion part of it for Origin is it plays a big part, and yeah, it was a pretty big step up. They had a pretty good side too. They had Greg Gillis, Darius Boyd, Jonathan Thurston, Cam Smith. It was like that Queensland team, and I'm just glad I got to check that off on a career. And I think at the time I was a bit too young and wasn't mature enough about my football or about who I was to be in that arena. But just grateful for the opportunity that I actually got out to do.
And then, mate, were you, if my memory is correct, were you marking Greg Inglis one game as well?
In the second game, I did.
Yeah, and I thought you actually did, not just because you're on the podcast, mate, but I thought you actually did a very good job, like against him, because we've seen on the highlights package, mate, sometimes what he does to New South Wales players, like at least you weren't one of the ones getting thrown around or anything like that. So I actually thought you did quite well. How did you assess your game?
Yeah, I thought in that second game, the first game was it was a so-so one. I thought the second game, look, I tried my best, and
Mm.
I didn't think I played all too bad. I tried, I had effort. Yeah, and we just, it was just one of those series where, you lose 2 games in a row, something's got to give, and I was part of that. So, just reflecting my time on it is just, if I had that opportunity ever come again, then I'd probably go about it differently. I think when I went in there, I was probably just a bit arrogant, a bit about my preparation towards football.
Mm.
Not, it was just like I was just immature.
Mm.
Just over the years, sort of just grown as a player and as a human being.
Yeah, and then for yourself, mate, so yeah, do you have any regrets or would you like to have had another crack at it? Like in say if the following year and a couple of years, would you like to have had another go?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, no, in 2017, I had a pretty good year, but that was the year after that Origin series, and I could
Hmm.
see why they just didn't have the trust in me, and then when I got picked, I don't felt like I was warranted. But who's going to be 21 and saying no to Origin? So
Hmm.
um, I think as the years have gone by, I've sort of just it's so cliche about players just worrying about their job at the club, but for me, club always has to be priority over Origin, just because it's lasts longer. Um, and just what we're doing here at the Warriors at the moment is just my pure focus is on that and on the club.
Yeah, if we can chat about the Warriors, mate. So I've got a bit of invested interest in you guys for two reasons. So one, I've picked you to win the grand final on our first show of the podcast. And two,
Yeah.
if Cronulla finish above you guys, I need to go to Northies in a mankini as well. So it's it's not looking too the Cronulla one's not looking too great at the moment, mate. They're sitting on top of the ladder. So yeah, how can you get a few more wins for me, mate, just to get me out of that mankini? No one wants to see that.
I'll make sure you're not wearing that mankini, mate.
Yeah, so just with the Warriors, mate. So we just chatted briefly before the pod. Just like the last 2 weeks have been really good for you. Obviously beating Penrith, and then I thought the Dolphins. That was a tough game yesterday. And Dolphins have been playing really well. So two good wins for you guys. Is that? I know it's hard for you to say, but is that what you needed to sort of as a springboard for your season?
Yeah, for sure. I think yeah, it's no secret, and it's probably been harped on enough, but we've got a lot of players missing. I think oh, even yesterday there was a bit of a reshuffle with Taintul, Picky, and Chance being ruled out. It threw a spanner in the works, but nothing has changed between Tamati, myself, and Mitch, and the whole group where our game our gameplay has been when it was at the start of the season, we were playing a certain particular style, and that was high completions and very disciplined. And then the last 2 weeks, we've just brought that back into our game because we were
Mm.
chasing this attack, and we were trying to attack a different way, or just do something different because we felt like our teams were shutting us down. But the last 2 weeks, we've sort of just dumped it right down, stayed in the system that we have in place that we've worked on all preseason, and that's high completions and being disciplined, and off the back of it, we've been scoring tries against some pretty good teams as well. Where they've I think Dolphins were full strength, and then Penrith were only missing Nathan Cleary. So I think all the players that are there that are out at the moment, we can't wait to get a few of them back. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, against Penrith, I thought, mate, when you actually lost players, it's like you grew a leg. Do you think that that was the win you guys sort of needed? Because obviously you probably don't know, but the commentators were saying, if the Warriors were to win this, it's going to be quite like extraordinary just with the injuries and you had at the time. So do you think, yeah, that was the win you guys needed?
Yeah, it was definitely a win because we were clutching in a thin air for a bit the weeks before where we lost to opposition, and it was getting quite I wouldn't say deflating, but it was frustrating. And coming up against Penrith and Magic Round, we all knew that we had to play our best game to beat those guys, and that sort of just gave us the confidence. But we were just hard work during the week as well. We were training hard, not like physically, but just like the little effort areas that we were doing really well, like our kick chase, our tackle selections, and winning our tackles. And then we trained that during the week, played Penrith, beat them, and then we just doubled down again last week against the Dolphins, where our training sets us up to have confidence to go into the games. And even though yesterday there was a bit of a spanner in the works with a few players dropping out, but we just knew like this game ain't easy. You got to go out there and go earn it. So that was our mentality, and we were down 10-0 at one stage, but just kept competing, got ourselves back in the fight, and we were just so connected, bro. We were just going out there, we were playing football, kick chase, do the hard stuff, and then they start making errors or giving penalties away and give us time of possession and field position.
Yeah, and then speaking of training, mate, so how much has that changed, I guess, from when you first started to now? And do you still enjoy it?
Yeah, I think it's all different now, man. Like they've got so many rules in place where there's only 2 contact trainings during the week. So when I first rocked up, it was a sort of free for all, and coaches could do whatever they want. But at the moment, there's rules in place now, and just being a little bit older, it's just been smarter. I'm lucky I've got a real good high performance staff here at the Warriors where they look after us older boys at the moment. Just a few niggles, and we'll just do bits and pieces in the session to get our bodies right for the game of the weekend. And they've looked after us as well, so can't complain.
I was gonna say, mate, it's funny you say that, older boys, because obviously I'm actually older than yourself, but watching footy when I was growing up, if a guy turned 30 or something similar, obviously he becomes a more experienced player. Do you think that does feed into the fact that with players they get in trouble when they're younger? Do you think people forget their age when they are in the media?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a funny one. It's a funny subject because I feel like with rugby league or just a high performance anywhere as a professional athlete or anything, there's always sacrifices that have got to be made to get to that point. And I think when we go about it with especially young dudes, which NRL it's a blue collar game. It goes out to suburban towns, country towns, into it's a poor man's game, so to speak. I think the upbringings plays a big part in it as well. I'm not saying any life's hard, but I think if people can understand how they grew up, childhood, and their traumas with that, and then if you're a talented kid, the pressure that externally can come from family, friends, or what it may be, and then get into the first grade, then you got to start making sacrifices here, and then you can. It's easily as a mental game is play a victim play a victim, but also thinking that you're owed something. And this is something that I've probably gone through where I thought I was owed things, or I was like, nah, well, I sacrificed this to get that, and that's what you want. But I probably went about it in certain ways, and I think how players can get in trouble is because it's just you're under a microscope 24/7, especially being in Sydney where rugby league's the main sport there. And it's hard because you're asking 18, 19, 17, 16, 15-year-old kids to grow up to be like the 30-year-old men now. And you got to go through those stages. And when the limelight put on you, it's hard. And I'm not saying like it doesn't give you an excuse to be a dickhead, but it's just one of those things, I think, where I think the market or just players can get a better understanding and about it, and just probably some work that I think the NRL could, help for sure.
And can I ask you, mate, because I heard you say in a previous, it's quite a personal question, but I heard you say in a previous interview that one of the reasons why you did leave Souths is because they were, or the previous CEO was sort of using your drug overdose against you. Is that correct?
Yeah, like it wasn't that drug overdose. He was using it against me. I think that was just um no, I don't know if it was frustrated or whatnot, but because they wanted Sam Burgess back to the club. He had the stint in rugby union. I was coming off contract that I signed. My sister helped me sign that contract. So I was coming off contract after a few good seasons there at South, and I was touted to play Origin, and I ended up playing for the Kangaroos at the end of 2014. So money was always going to be on the up, and I think they sort of used that as an excuse to. I wouldn't say like they wanted me there, but because I had one more year left to run, but
Not to
they wanted.
upgrade your contract, would you say?
Yeah, they were sort of holding it, and I thought,
Mm.
like, I'm a young lad, and it's not chasing money, but it's like you get what you deserved, and
Mm.
thought, a premiership, man, being a young local boy, like I was happy to take unders because I wanted to be there, but then again, like I wanted, like I signed a contract with my sister when I was at 18 years old, where I would say it was peanuts. Like it's
Yeah.
like like as a professional athlete, you should be paid what you're paid, and I thought it just got messy in that point where I thought, what, the best for me is just to exit it and just go off and explore my options.
Yeah, and then you went off to Manly, mate, and you had success there. Obviously, like I said, winning Dally M Centre of the Year. How'd you find your time there, mate, in Manly?
Yeah, I loved Manly. Man, it was it was 45 minutes away from where I grew up, so it was just far enough to not really go back, but quick enough if I had to go and go catch up with some people. But I got into my own little bubble over there. Started a family, lived there for 8 years of my life, and I enjoyed my time in Manly. Made some great relationships there with the Turbos and Ches, a whole bunch of them. And man, I enjoyed it. It was some roller coaster years there as well, but I wouldn't change it, man. Manly's a cool place to live.
And I was gonna ask you, mate, did you become like so my brother's from Manly, did you become like most people from Manly and didn't want to leave when you lived there or what?
I was definitely one of those people. It's just like got everything. You got the beaches, you got cafes. There's not much more you need, and it's just a little bit cruisier. I didn't leave Manly too much, to be honest.
Mate, and then you've gone from, so it's a bit of a change, mate. You've gone from Manly to New Zealand. How was the transition like going to the Warriors? How'd you find it?
Yeah, the transition. I wouldn't say it was scary, but it was like, oh, okay, like New Zealand's a beautiful place. I found my feet coming this second year around. When I first got here, it was tough just because it was, trying to find your spots, trying to find your cafes, school for the kids.
Mm.
And then we were traveling quite early on in the season, so I was putting a bit of pressure on my partner at the time, and she was holding it down, and then she just. Oh, I mean, sorry. And then when I come back after that season, it's just I've just enjoyed it, man. Like just actually getting out of Auckland, going to one of the boys. He's got like a family. He lives down from Tarawa. Going down there, like he's taking us hunting, surfing, fishing. He's got a boat too, and just seeing the landscape of NZ is actually beautiful, man. It's a cool place to live. Like I'm enjoying it now. Like I live in Ponsonby with Rocco Berry now, so we're just walking along Ponsonby Road, going for coffees, and you actually get to enjoy New Zealand now. And it's I definitely found my feet. It takes a good year, I'd say, to find your feet when you're moving.
And you spoke about, mate, travel at the start. I've always wanted to ask a Warriors player this. How hard is it? Like traveling, I mean, most weeks, every fortnight. How tough is it?
Yeah, I think it's actually they've got it nailed because they've done it for so long. Like
Mm,
the best part, I think you take you probably take it for granted is like we take just we got two backpack in them and just a smaller travel case, and the gear guy Laurie Haley, he takes all our boots. Like we got to, clean our boots, put them in the boot bag and all our toiletries. So we're not waiting at the airport through customs, checking this, checking that. And I think just those little things make the
mm.
travel easier. The time wise is always going to be the same. And that's, you just hope when you come on the plane, you're hoping that you got no one in the middle, or you're hoping for the seats that you want. And I think, yeah, just having those parts, it's pretty, like, you just look for little wins when you're traveling so consistently, because it's not fun, but you're always playing cards, we're always putting shit on each other, and you've just got to make the time as enjoyable as possible. Otherwise, you just you just resent it even more.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about this, mate, when I was researching yourself, but I'm gonna ask you a question. So who would you not like to be sat next to on the plane?
In a team now,
Yeah, the team now, yeah. Throw someone on the bus, mate.
uh, oh, I don't know. Oh, probably Jazz Devanga.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's just annoying. We call him Kia because he's a know-it-all.
So just talk your ear off, mate, you reckon?
Oh no, he's actually one of my good mates, but he's
Yeah.
the only one. He always gets shit put on him, so I like to just keep throwing him under the bus. It's actually fun.
Yeah, yeah, mate. And then if we can chat about, I know you mentioned it briefly before about your 2014 when you played for Australia. So you said previously you thought you could have prepared better for that or play better. Do you still believe that, mate?
What in for the
For the
2014?
Australia, yeah, for the Four Nations.
Yeah, I think my this is where I think I was immature and actually not looking at the bigger picture. Like for me, it was so cool to play for Australia, and it was something that everyone wants to do. And but when we won the GF, like I was at the time, I just turned 20, and all I wanted to do, bro, was party. I wanted to go with
Mm.
my mates. Like we had flights booked on to Thailand, Bali. Like in my head, like I wouldn't say, like I had to try and like focus back on football, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse, because it's like if you love rugby league, and I love rugby league, but at that time I was just a young boy, man. I wanted to go party. I wanted to go drink with my mates. I wanted to go travel and just get away from footy. And I think um, that was a telling, and I knew deep down that's my head wasn't in it. And I never told anyone, because I was like, no, I'll be all right. Like this is something I always want to do. But if I had my time again, I'll probably just look at it the bigger picture, in sense of, you know what, like this is an honor and a privilege to play for, your country. And I think I definitely took that for granted. And if I was to tell my younger self that now, I'd be like, pull your head in, go do
Mm.
prep like you were doing that whole year, sacrifice what you need to so you can be your best. And who knows, and maybe I would have played the extra 20 more tests.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like for myself, obviously, just as we call ourselves professional fans on this show, mate. So, for myself to play for Australia would be amazing. But I guess I can understand if can I ask you as well, Dylan? Like, do you get sick of footy? Like when I've heard younger players say, sort of off the record mostly, but you can get sick of footy. Did that ever happen to you as well?
um, Not to a point where I was going to give the game up. Well, there was
Mm.
never a point like that. I think getting away from football, there's a balance, and I've always found the balance quite not hard, but like to try and get away, but actually still, because I'm thinking football, I'm thinking about plays, I'm thinking about you know attacking plays, defensive, like defensively, how could I have done this? And it's just, I think that's just been ingrained in me over the years. But I think having outlets out of football is important. Some players like it more than others, but I'm not going to sit here. We got 4 days off, and for me, that's just like unwind, relax,
Go on a podcast.
go on, drink some wine, have some good food. But like deep down, you've got to know that you got to look after yourself. You got to make sure that you're still eating right, sleeping right, in the sense of that, like having healthy habits. I've got an outlet now where I have to keep moving. I have to keep doing something. Otherwise, I'll just get lost in it. And one of the boys we always go fishing, play a bit of golf, hunting. I'm not saying I'm the man at all this stuff, but
Mm.
it's just I like doing things like that just because it's new, it's different, it's refreshing, and I think that can always come back and make you feel more present when you're at training. So there's definitely a balance with it.
Well, I guess you're just saying sort of get your mind away from the week to week, like, because I could imagine the pressure. Also, living in New Zealand, mate, because you spoke about like Sydney before, which I know probably for rugby league, it's probably the best place and worst place to live.
Mm.
In a sense, so being in New Zealand, does that help as well? I mean, the Wars are pretty popular, but does that help?
Yeah, actually, it's as popular as everyone makes it out to be. Like here, it's pretty cruisy. Like you go for you get like every now and then, but people here are not going like stopping you or going, oh, can we have this? They're just like, oh, what's up, bro? Fuck up the wires.
Mm.
Yeah, and like real
Typical
cool like
Kiwis.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's it's actually pretty cool because in Oz you can get like people are like, oh, like, can we get a photo? Can you do this here? Everyone's like, chill, brother. I was like, yeah, see,
Mm.
and
Just
keep
a
walking.
different culture, different
Yeah,
culture.
the culture's different. Like people, they're like happy to like get, oh, what's up, bro, but without intervening in your personal space. And I think that's pretty cool. Like when we come back to Oz, a lot of the players like Sean, Rog, they get hassled in Oz more than they do back here.
Wow, that's
Right.
interesting. Yeah, because I know obviously, like for yourself, just to see firsthand, like so I've heard a lot of people talk about obviously All Blacks usually or used to sort of I guess you could say smash the Warriors in popularity and things like that. But now the tide's turning over there. Would you agree with that, mate?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a big movement, eh? What we did last year, and it's actually pretty cool because then you're like, oh, I was a part of that. It's pretty nice. But I think union still is always going to be massive here because even some boys now, like my roomie Rocco Berry, he watches union on the weekends as well. Like he turned off the West Tigers Cowboys game and put on the union. I was like,
Mm.
and that's where I think union's always going to be big, but it's pretty cool to see people come out and support us. I think it was just off the back of last year, and they just all the New Zealand culture. They don't care who's playing as long as it's like the effort type game or they're just playing hard. Man, they come and cheer and support, and it's refreshing because they just love the pure the pure rugby league form of just heavy collision, like moments, like even if it's a Roger Tuivasa like breaking people's ankles or someone scoring a try in the corner, like they just love that, and it's refreshing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, mate. Speaking about culture, so representing, I'm gonna try to say this right, but just keep in mind I'm a white boy, mate. But the Maori culture, so representing them opposed to playing for New South Wales or Australia. What's the difference, like, in terms of putting that jumper on and playing?
Yeah, I think look, anyone that knows me, I'm not the most cultural person. I'm probably as Aussie street kid as it gets. uh, it's but it's funny because all my brothers and sisters, they all got like accents other than the oldest ones. But all of them, they all lived in NZ and they were either born here or lived here. And I was the only one that never got to do it. So I sort of, I don't know, had my back up against the wall going, well, I'm fucking Aussie. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
collected aside for a little bit. And I think it's just bigger when you go into those camps because that's who you are. Like that's deep down, like that's a part of me. But then going through the camp and actually seeing it's like, you know what, like that's who I am and that's my culture. And it's actually something where you can gravitate towards and say, "No, I'm proud to be that." And it was more just for a family, just how proud they were, and I think that just the effect of that was a real cool moment. I think, especially my career, just because it's not just a game there; it's more of just culturally finding yourself and finding your values of who you are or what you're made up of. And I think the Maori culture is just it's actually cool because you get to like I've never learned it or anything, but going through those camps, you actually learn how they speak, how they act, the mannerisms, the respect towards it. It's real refreshing because it's like, oh shit, that's who I am. And I think that's what I enjoyed those camps. I enjoyed those camps the most because it's a sense of just pure belonging where it's not like, oh, you're here because you're good, or it's just like you're here because we are, Maori.
I think like so, mate. A lot of people, I guess, in the older generation, sort of talk about, say, Jerome playing for Samoa and then New South Wales. But I think you sort of touched on it brilliantly then in saying you can be proud of both. So I think they should be able to play for New South Wales. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's only fair. Like it'd be different if you're going, um, Australian to New Zealand,
Mm.
where you've got to keep. Oh, yeah, it's a difficult one, but like if you're playing for Samoa, like no one's ever made up of like one, you know, thing. Like you're gonna have people that's gonna have different types of cultures, or mum
Mm.
different, cultures or whatever it may be. But if you're an Aussie kid and you grew up playing rugby league, everyone wants to play state of origin, and it's just because it's that rivalry of like state versus state, and you back it to the hills because it's Wednesday 8 o'clock, state of origin night, and those nights are the best. And if you've got heritage or a bloodline that ties you to something, then it should be. And I think it's even in one of the rules where if you were born in Queensland and you played Queensland all your junior career, and then, but let's say my kids were in Queensland, they could still choose New South Wales because I played, and it's just that
I see.
loyalty towards it. But it's like that's the same as it goes for, I'd say, like Jerome Nua. Like he should be able to go represent Samoa because that's where he's probably feels the most proud of his culture. But it shouldn't stop him from playing New South Wales because state of origin is made up of the best players, and he played in Penrith all his junior grades. It's not like he was born in Samoa, but he has ties to it. So yeah, it's happy if you can represent more than one thing.
I'm with you, mate, because I'm a big advocate of international rugby league too. So I think like we want international and state of origin strong at the same time, and that's how we do it. But I think, to be honest, it's more of the older generation. I think if you're younger, like for myself, I grew up in Western Sydney, so Fairfield. So a lot of my mates had different backgrounds. So I guess I have a bit more understanding towards it as well. It's probably that older generation, mate. You touched on the game, like, or watching the game at 8 p.m. on the state of origin, mate. So can you give us, I guess, your tip for the game, mate?
Ooh, tip of the game.
Yeah.
Is it at
In Sydney.
it's in Sydney, the first
Yeah.
one? I'm gonna go New South Wales. Wait. New South Wales 20 to 12.
20 to 12. Okay, okay.
Wood scores, Stephen Crichton scores 6-12. And I'm going to say Reece Robson scores.
Okay, Reece Robson. All right. So and then who do you think is going to be the Blues' biggest um menace on the field? Who do you think they have to I mean, that Queensland side's pretty stacked, like again,
Yeah,
but who do
they
you
got
think is going to be their biggest danger man?
New South Wales.
Yeah.
I think for them to win the game, I think it's either Jerome Lua or Dill Edwards.
And what about Queensland? What about Queensland as well?
That's a
I
pretty good
know.
side.
Yeah, I know.
Their most danger man.
Yeah.
I think Hammer. He he's going to be around some real good plays, and he's going to get more space than what he normally does in clubland. So I reckon he's the one to watch out because he can flip a game on its head.
All right. So 20. I'm gonna remember that, mate. We're gonna remember that 20 to 12. I said 25-18, and then we have Eric Graff Jr. coming on the podcast. So I'll get his prediction and we'll see. Obviously, probably we'll all go New South Wales, mate, but we'll see who gets the closest. So last one or last question, mate. It's been amazing just to chat with you, but this is a question from our millions and millions of fans. So this one comes from Dylan as well, and he has said, "I've heard a story about yourself losing the Premiership ring for South while having a smoke. Is that a true story?"
Yeah, that's a true story. I lied when it first happened because I was worried about what I actually. I was having a dart. Having some, I think I tried blaming it on food or something. I was throwing the food, but yeah, when I flicked the dart off the boat, the ring come flying off.
Oh wow! How did you
Yeah,
feel, mate? When that must have been crushing.
that was crushing, man. That actually hurt
Mm,
me. That one, even it was like it hurt me at this for a bit, but then just drunk my sorrows away with it.
yeah.
Then when everything calmed down, I was like, "Fuck."
The next day would have been
It
tough.
just no, I just the whole next week they come down. Oh, it was
Mm,
yeah, it was head noise city. I just had the black dog following me everywhere, and I was
yeah.
so bro. Like I couldn't even like feel like I could celebrate it properly because I didn't have it. Like I couldn't show it off, but it hurt. It hurt.
I guess all that hard work, even obviously to ring, but all that hard work must have been tough. But you did get a replacement, I've heard. Is that right?
Yeah, got a replacement. Got a replacement. So yeah, like it sits in my mum's safe.
Oh,
So
wow.
the last time I even seen it, it would have been 6 years ago, I reckon.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't even check up on it. It's just thrown away. It just
Yeah.
collecting dust. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
something and I'll be like, when I'm older, I reckon I'd be like, yeah, I did that.
Well, it's a great achievement, mate. And then before you go, if two Waz fans, what can you not guarantee or what can you say to them just to keep their hopes up for the rest of the year, mate? Keep that winning run going.
Yeah. I don't know, just keep supporting us because we're putting in the hard work, and it's just that's the standard now. So, um, if anything below of it falls, yeah, I'll make sure that I'm the one that addressing it. Going, fucking pull your fingers out.
And then
Yeah,
as I said, Dylan, get me out of that mankini, please, mate.
I'll get you out of that, man, Kenny. Don't worry. We already looked up two in the top four, so there's two more that were coming.
All right, Dylan. Thanks so much, mate, for coming on the weekly offload. If we can, so we have a catchphrase at the end. So if you can, just say your name and then say, I've taken a load off for this week.
Yeah. So now,
Yeah, yeah, go.
Yo, it's Dylan Walker here. I'm taking the load off this week.
Ah, that's excellent, mate. Thank you.